Hello, my name is Mark John Sternal, and you're watching Guitar DVD number 1, Beginner Basics and Beyond. Throughout this video, you'll learn all you need to know to survive in the world of guitar. By the most simplified definition, a guitar is made of 6 strings and several frets. The strings are numbered 1 through 6, starting with the thinnest string being number 1, through the thickest string being number 6. There is also a nut. The nut is sometimes referred to as the 0 fret or open. Frets are the bars that run across the fretboard horizontal to the strings. The frets are also numbered, starting with the nut being 0 or open. Most guitars have more than 20 frets. Guitars have bodies. They also have necks. Acoustic guitars have the same parts as electric guitars, such as the body, neck, and frets. Acoustic guitars have sound holes which produce pitch when the strings are played. When properly tuned, notes on both acoustic guitars and electric guitars are played the same way. Electric guitars will make a quiet sound on their own. Using a guitar cable, plug one end into the input jack of your guitar and plug the other end into the input jack on your amp. Here we are using an Epiphone Studio 15R, which features a high and low input. We will use the high input, giving us a louder signal. We are starting out with all of the controls set straight up to 5 o'clock. Many guitar amps feature an overdrive or boost button. When engaged, this increases the amount of distortion coming out of the amp. If you lower the gain, or in this case the drive control, the amp's tone will sound cleaner. The more gain you add, the dirtier the tone will get. Gain is also referred to as distortion. The level controls the volume for the overdrive channel. By disengaging the overdrive, the amp switches to the clean channel where level controls the volume. The equalizer allows you to adjust the tone of your amplifier. The Epiphone Studio 15R features 3 controls for treble or high frequencies, middle frequency control, and bass for the low range frequencies. If you set these straight up, you are running the amp flat, which means you are not giving or taking from the guitar tone. The reverb control allows you to add an echo effect to the guitar. The Studio 15R also features a loop to connect external effects, as well as an input for connecting stereo headphones. A typical blues amp setting would be drive to number 4, treble just past the 5 marker, middle almost to 6, and bass down to 4. Switch to the clean channel, and the blues settings will work well for country music. For a common rock guitar tone, engage overdrive and set drive to 6 or 7, treble just past the number 7 marker, mid to 6, and bass to 7. For an extreme heavy metal guitar setting, turn the drive or gain all the way up. The clean channel is not used. For the EQ, set treble between 8 and 10. In metal, it is typical to cut the mids from halfway down to 0 for an extreme, and turn the bass up between 8 and 10. Now that your electric guitar is plugged into an amplifier, the volume and tone knobs help shape the sound of the instrument. The pickups are what capture the signal from the guitar and send them to the amplifier. This guitar is an Epiphone Les Paul standard. It features a solid mahogany body, flame maple top, and 2 humbucker pickups, the neck and the bridge pickup, giving this guitar great sound and massive sustain. To change pickups, this guitar features a 3-way toggle switch. In the up position, the neck pickup is engaged. In the center position, the neck and bridge pickup are engaged, and in the down position, the bridge pickup is on. You might use the neck pickup for playing chords and rhythm guitar. The middle will add some brightness to the chords or fills. And the bridge pickup is often used for leads. The bridge of the guitar is opposite the nut. If you play a note, in this case I'll play the first string, the string will vibrate, causing sound between the bridge and the nut. When you hold a fret, you are shortening the length of the string, and the sound now vibrates between the bridge and the fret you are holding. As you move your finger up the neck, the length of the vibrating string becomes shorter, causing pitch to increase to higher notes. Some guitars, like this Epiphone Futura Prophecy FX, feature a tremolo bridge or a whammy bar, which allows you to change the pitch of any note you're playing. Simply play a note, then dip the bar. You can apply subtle tremolo, fast tremolo, or go for a long dive. To learn more about using the tremolo bridge, we highly recommend Easy Whammy Bar Guitar DVD. The easiest way to keep your guitar in tune is to use an electric tuner. The tuner that I am using in this video is an Epiphone guitar and bass guitar tuner. It has a microphone that picks up the pitch of an acoustic instrument or a plug for electric instruments. To tune your instrument, pick an open string. If the display lights up to the left of center, that means your string is too loose and you need to tighten the tuning peg. If the display lights up to the right, it means your string is too tight and you need to loosen the peg until the meter lines up in the center and you're in tune. This tuner even features a 7th string option for 7-string guitars and also features a bass guitar option with the bottom set of controls. Playing in tune is very important for beginner guitarists. You want to develop a sense of pitch as soon as possible. So if you don't already have one, I highly recommend that you get an electric tuner. In case you don't have a tuner, tune to my guitar. Here is the first string, E, second string, B, third string, G, fourth string, D, fifth string, A, and sixth string, the low E. You can also learn to tune a guitar by ear. For example, if your 6th string is in tune, you can use the 5th fret to tune the 5th string open. Play the 6th string 5th fret, then play the 5th string open, compare the two notes, and adjust the pitch of the 5th string to match that of the 6th string 5th fret by tightening or loosening the tuning peg. You can apply this to the 5th string 5th fret to tune the 4th string. When the 4th string is in tune, you could use the 4th string 5th fret to tune the 3rd string open. On the 3rd string, hold the 4th fret to tune the 2nd string open. And when your 2nd string is in tune, play the 2nd string 5th fret to tune the 1st string open. When sitting, you can rest your guitar on your lap. While certain styles of music prefer one leg to the other, in popular culture it has become acceptable to use either one. If you put your guitar on the same side as your picking hand, you'll be able to reach the open position easier. If you move it to the same side as your playing hand, this will put the guitar in a comfortable position for you to reach the higher frets. However, playing the open position becomes more of a stretch. Experiment with both and do what is more comfortable for you. You can also learn to play standing up by using a guitar strap to hold your guitar at your desired length. If you are just starting out, I recommend that you adjust the strap so the guitar is near the same position whether you're sitting or standing. You may find that picking becomes difficult if your strap is too long or too short. To correct this, adjust the length of the strap to your liking. For this section, I'll be playing an Epiphone Wilshire, which is a reissue of the 1962 model. The Wilshire features a neck that is set into the body of the guitar. Music is made on the guitar by simply picking a string. You can pick a string open without touching any frets or strings, or you can place one of your fingers directly behind a fret and pick that string. If the fretted note is dull or muted, check for these problems. First, is your finger directly above the fret wire? If so, move it back directly behind the fret, apply pressure, and pick the string. Second, is your finger too far back away from the fret wire? This requires a lot of unnecessary pressure. To correct this, slide your finger closer to the fret so it is directly behind it, apply pressure, and pick the string. That's all there is to it. If you could play this note, consider yourself a brand new guitarist. Here is your first finger placement exercise. Place your first or index finger directly behind the first fret and pick the first string. Place your second or middle finger in the second fret position and pick. Use your third or ring finger to play the third fret, then the fourth or pinky finger to play the fourth fret. For this whole exercise, my thumb is placed behind the middle finger, or second fret, in the center of the back of the neck. If you have smaller hands, you can move them up the fretboard where the frets are closer together. On the first string, move your index finger up to the 9th fret, then play the same finger placement exercise. Forward, backward, and even on other strings. This video uses chord charts, traditional music notation, and tablature, also known as tab. This is a note chart. Each vertical line represents a guitar string. Each horizontal line represents a fret. Dots are placed on the note chart to show you which strings and frets to hold in order to play scales or chords. In some cases, like this example, hollow dots represent an open string. This note chart shows 3 dots on the first string. The dots represent the notes to play on the fretboard. To play the notes below, simply pick the first string open, then the first fret, then the third fret. You can also play it descending by picking the first string third fret, then first fret, then open. Here we are using more than one string. To play the notes on this chart, pick the second string open, first fret, third fret, then switch to the first string open, then the first fret, then the third fret. You can also play this descending by starting with the first string third fret, then first fret, and open, then play the second string notes, third, first, then open. When notes are intended to be played on higher frets, the fret number is listed to the left or right of the chart. The previous exercise did not use fret numbers because the notes were near the open position or within range of the nut. In this exercise, the number 7 tells us that the lowest fret we use is the 7th fret. To play this section, start with the first string 7th fret, followed by the 8th fret, then the 10th fret. Or to play it descending, start with the first string 10th, then 8th, then 7th fret. This is a chord chart. It looks identical to a note chart, however it is played differently. Notice there is only one note on each string, where on the note charts there were 3 notes. Chord charts show you groups of notes that can be played or strummed together. Dots are placed on the chord chart to show you which strings and frets to hold to play a chord. Sometimes numbers are placed under the chord chart to show you which fingers to use for each note. This chord chart shows 3 X's and 3 O's. The X's mean you do not play the strings they line up with. The O's represent open notes for the string they line up with. To play the chord below, simply strum or pick strings 3, 2, and 1 so that they ring out at the same time. This next chart adds a fretted note. The new note would be held using your first finger on the 3rd string behind the 1st fret. To play the chord, strum or pick strings 3, 2, and 1 so they ring out at the same time. Here we are using all strings. The 6th or lowest string is open. The 5th string note is held down with your 2nd finger. 4th string note is held down with your 3rd finger. The 3rd string note is held down with your 1st finger. The 2nd and 1st strings are open. Strum or pick all 6 strings so they ring out at the same time. It is often necessary to hold down 2 or more strings with 1 finger. This technique is called barring. Chords using this technique are called bar chords. If you are having trouble with this chord, move on for now. In a few short sections, your fingers will be strong enough to play all of these chords. Just like the numbered frets for note charts, when chords are intended to be played on higher frets, the fret number is listed next to the chord chart. The previous exercise did not use fret numbers because the chords were all in the open position or within range of the nut. This exercise has us playing a bar chord on the 5th fret of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. Strings 4, 5, and 6 are silent. Tab is the easiest way to learn to read guitar music. The The top line always represents the first string of your guitar. The second line represents the second string and on through the sixth string. And numbers represent the frets that you play. So if a number 1 is written on the top line of the tab staff, you would play the first fret on the first string. If a 1 is written followed by a 2, you would play the first fret on the first string, followed by the second fret on the first string. You can also play 2 or more notes together. On the tab, we see the first string is open, and the second string calls for the first fret. Place your index finger on the second string first fret and position it so the bottom of your finger is not touching the first string. Then pick both the second and first strings together. You'll be able to use this video even if you do not learn to read traditional notation. However, we have included an introduction in this section. Music is traditionally written on a staff. A staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces which represent the different notes of the musical scale. The notes represented on the staff come from our musical alphabet. They are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After the G note, the alphabet starts over with A. This also works in reverse if you are playing or writing the notes backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, and so on. Guitar music is written on the treble clef. Whenever you see this symbol, the music can be played on a guitar. The notes of the treble clef start with E on the very bottom line. The space above E represents an F note. The line above F represents a G. Notes can extend above and below the staff by the use of ledger lines. There are also different versions of most notes called accidentals. Accidentals consist of sharps or flats. To make a note sharp is to raise it 1 fret on the guitar. To make a note flat is to lower it 1 fret on the guitar. One way of writing sharps or flats on the staff is to place the symbol before the note you want to change. Another way of writing sharps or flats is to use a key signature. Simply put, a key signature is a group of sharps or flats at the very beginning of a staff line. The sharp or flat note in the key signature indicates that all notes of the same name will be altered throughout the piece of music. If the key signature has a sharp symbol on an F, you are to play F sharp in place of F for the remainder of the piece of music unless otherwise indicated by another accidental symbol. When a sharp or flat note needs to be changed back to its original non-accidental state, a natural symbol is used. Most guitar music uses both tablature and staff notation, which allows you to choose which method of reading you would like to use. Some guitar music uses all 3 methods. In this example, you can choose between the note chart, standard notation, and tab. All 3 methods indicate the same chord. Bar lines are the vertical lines that divide tablature and staff music into sections. The measure is the space between bar lines. Music is the combination of time and sound. By changing the speed at which a note or group of notes is played, or the length the note is held, you are controlling the timing. Each measure uses an equal set of beats. The amount of beats is determined by the time signature. For example, in 4/4 timing, each measure equals 4 beats. In 3/4 timing, each measure will equal 3 beats. In 2/4 timing, each measure will equal 2 beats. The most popular time signature is 4/4 timing. 4/4 timing is also called common time and is sometimes identified with a letter C in the time signature. Another way to identify 4/4 timing or common time is to leave the time signature blank. The tempo of a song determines how fast or how slow each measure is counted. For example, 40 BPM means you would count 40 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 80 BPM means you would count 80 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 160 BPM means you would count 160 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are many different timing notes. For starters, the whole note equals 4 beats, or one whole measure in 4/4 timing. The half note equals 2 beats. The quarter note equals 1 beat. The importance of timing cannot be stressed enough. Music is the study of time and sound. Anyone can make noise by hitting random notes on an instrument. A note or a group of notes must be structured with timing to become music. For this reason, every exercise on this video will be played with a slow and a fast tempo. For this section, I am playing an Epiphone Sheraton 2, a classic semi-hollow body guitar combining the sustain of a solid body and the warmth of a hollow body. This section includes a comprehensive look at the fundamentals of the guitar. I am of strong belief that musicians should know their instruments, and you as a guitarist should know your guitar. The musical alphabet consists of 12 notes: A sharp and B flat, B, C, C sharp and D flat, D, D sharp and E flat, E, F, F sharp and G flat, G, G sharp and A flat, and A again. Notice that the 2nd, 5th, 7th, 10th, and 12th notes have 2 different names. For example, the 2nd note can be an A sharp or a B flat. It is the same note, but it has 2 different names. The notes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G are called basic or natural notes. The notes A sharp and B flat, C sharp and D flat, D sharp and E flat, F sharp, G flat, and G sharp and A flat are called accidentals. Each of the 6 strings of the guitar have been assigned a specific note. The 6th string, which is the top and heaviest string, is an E note. It is called the low E string. When this string is played open, no frets, no fingers, it will produce an E pitch. Each fret after that will bring you to the next note in the musical alphabet. If you play the 6th string 1st fret, it will produce an F note. The 2nd fret will produce an F sharp or G flat note. 3rd fret will produce a G note. Next, a G sharp or A flat note. Then A. The 6th fret will be an A sharp or B flat. The 7th fret is B. The 8th, C. And on through the alphabet as you travel up the frets. Once you reach the 12th fret, the musical alphabet will repeat itself, starting with E. The 5th string open is A. The 4th string is a D note. The 3rd string is a G. 2nd is the B string. And the 1st string is the high E string. Altogether, starting with the 6th string, the open notes are E, A, D, G, B, and E. For your reference, a fretboard note chart has been included in the bonus section of this video. Positioning of your hands is very important when playing the guitar. Pay close attention to this section and get in the habit of keeping your fingers and hands in the proper positions at all times. Hold your pick between your thumb and index finger. The tip of the pick should be pointing in the direction of your index finger. Always alternate your picking strokes, down, up, down, up. Bend your wrist or your elbow when you're picking. Avoid any movement of your thumb or index finger. Your other three fingers should be rolled into your palm or stretched out and braced against the body of your guitar below the first string. You can also use these fingers to mute the strings you are not playing and prevent any unwanted notes from ringing out. If you are a beginner guitarist, or if this is a new technique for you, take some time to practice it. The following exercises will help you develop a good picking technique. For this first exercise, we will play the first string and let it ring out for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then move to the second string for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep playing through all 6 strings. When we get to the 6th string, we will turn the exercise around and work back to the first string. Let's start out with a very slow tempo of 40 beats per minute, or 40 BPM. Then we'll double the speed and play it at 80 BPM. This next exercise has us play each string on the 1 and 3 count. Starting on the first string, pick down on 1 and hold for 2, pick up on 3 and hold for 4. Move to the second string, 1, 2, 3, 4, then through all 6 strings and back. Here's the exercise with a slow and fast tempo. For this next exercise, we will pick a note for each beat. First string, 1, 2, 3, 4. Move to the second string and be sure to alternate your picking strokes. Down, up, down, up. To the third string, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on to the sixth string and back. Let's play it with the tempo. Get in the habit of positioning the fingers of your playing hand 1 fret apart each. On the 6th string, press down on the 1st fret with your 1st finger, 2nd fret, 2nd finger, 3rd fret, 3rd finger, and 4th fret, 4th finger. When you are not playing a note, your finger should remain in this position 1/2 inch above the strings. This positioning should be used anywhere on the fretboard, so if you move your hand up the neck, your fingers will stay 1 fret apart each. Always keep your thumb in contact with the neck, even when you are not playing any notes. The best position for beginner players is to keep your thumb behind your middle finger in the center of the neck. Many guitarists allow their thumb to hang over the top edge of the guitar. There are some techniques that require this positioning, but overall it will slow you down when you are starting out. I recommend that you learn your first few songs with your thumb in back of the neck, which will help you build finger strength. This is the really easy section to help you build up to playing full chords and notes on every string. Each lesson is played slow, then fast, with each new section increasing speed. If you decide to skip ahead and later find that you are having difficulty playing something, then you might want to come back to this section to get your fingers in shape. If you are just starting out, I recommend that you play through this section at least once, no matter how easy you find the first few lessons. For this section, I'll be playing Epiphone's Les Paul Special 2 electric guitar. For this exercise, we are going to play notes on the first string only. Here we are only going to use our first and second fingers to play these notes. This is called the half-step song. A half step is the distance of 1 fret on the guitar. So from the first fret to the second fret is a half step. The fifth fret to the sixth fret is a half step. From the 12th fret to the 13th fret is a half step. And even if you change strings, a half step is still 1 fret distance. Let's begin with a step-by-step approach to playing our first song. It is very important to use proper picking and finger technique. First, we'll slowly go through the song, making sure to use the correct fingers for each note. Then we'll play it at 2 different speeds. In this exercise, the first note is an F on the first fret. It is played with a downstroke. In the second measure, we see our second note is an F sharp note, played on the second fret using your second finger and picked with an upstroke. In measure 3, we play a G note by moving our first finger up the guitar neck to the 3rd fret and pick with a downstroke. Measure 4 is a G sharp note played with your second finger on the 4th fret and picked with an upstroke. Then, for the big ending, we drop down to the open E note, played with a downstroke, no frets, no fingers, followed by the last note, F, first finger, 1st fret, played with an upstroke. For most of this song, your thumb will be behind the 2nd fret on the back of the neck. But when you play the G and G sharp notes and slide your first finger up to the 3rd fret, your thumb will follow by sliding up as well. Then back to the original position for the ending. Also, the whole song builds up with half steps, 1 fret each. Then ends with half steps, right where we started by dropping to the open E, then ending on F. You can see in the sheet music all of the notes or timing values in this song are whole notes. As we discussed earlier, a whole note is held for 4 beats. Now that we have dissected this position and learned the correct fingering and picking, let's play along with the tempo. First, we'll start out very slow, then we'll speed it up a bit. Here's the half-step song at 40 beats per minute or 40 BPM. The drum machine will count us in with a 4 count, then we'll start playing together. How did you do? Were you able to let each note ring out for a full 4 count? If not, remember to keep your fretting finger directly behind the fret wire. This requires the least amount of strength to hold down a note. Here's the half-step song played at double the tempo, 80 BPM. This next guitar is an Epiphone Casino, featuring thin-line, full hollow construction, twin P90 pickups, and a streamlined neck. Now we're moving on to the second string and learning whole steps. If a half step is 1 fret, then you guessed right if you said a whole step equals 2 frets distance. For this song, we are playing on the second string and only using our first and third finger to play notes. The first note is B and is played open. No frets, no fingers. Just pick the second string with the downstroke. The second measure is C sharp, played with your first finger on the second fret with an upstroke of the pick. The third measure is D sharp, played with your third finger on the fourth fret with a downstroke. Next, we go back to C sharp, played with your first finger on the second fret, picked with an upstroke, down to the open B again, downstroke, back up to C sharp, first finger, second fret, upstroke, and end on B with a downstroke. For this whole song, your thumb will be behind the third fret at the back of the neck. When you play the song, the first time you get to the C sharp note, keep your first finger on the second fret for the second, third, and fourth measure. This will help you make a smooth transition between notes. So let the C sharp in measure 2 ring out for a full 4 beats. Keep your first finger planted on the C sharp when you play the D sharp with your third finger. Hold it for 4 beats, then lift the third finger, and since your first finger is already in place to play the C sharp note, all you have to do is pick the string. This little trick keeps you a note or two ahead of what you are actually playing and will make your song sound smooth and professional. Okay, let's play our song with a tempo of 50 BPM. The drums will count us in with a 4 count, then we'll start playing together. Now let's go for double time at 100 BPM. And remember, if the fast version of each song is giving you problems, don't worry. Keep going on to the next lesson. Here's the same song, but we're going to introduce a new note value. Instead of playing whole notes, which equal 4 beats for each note, we're going to use half notes, which equal 2 beats each. So now we're going to pick each note twice per measure. First, a downstroke on the 1 count, then play the note again with an upstroke on the 3 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on through the song playing half notes. For the big ending, the last note is going to be a whole note ringing out for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is at 50 BPM and again at 100 BPM. For this song, we are playing notes on both strings. Let's learn part 1. Using half notes, we are walking down in pitch, starting with G to F to E on the first string, followed by D, then C on the second string, back to the open E string, and on the C for a whole note. Part 2 starts using half notes to play G, F, E, and back to F and G, all on the first string. Then you play the open B on the second string and end on G for a whole note. Now let's put it together, starting on part 1, then part 2, then part 1 again for the ending. So far, we have only been playing one note at a time, which is called melody. Now, we're going to play two different notes together, which is called harmony. Using the notes we've already learned, let's play the C note on the second string first fret, along with the E note on the first string open. First, get your fingers in place. Using your first finger or index finger, you're playing the C note. Next, strum the second and first string together in a downward stroke. Just put your pick right above the second string and let her rip. How did you do? Could you hear both notes ringing out? If not, you might be muting the E note with the bottom part of your index finger. When you hold the C note on the second string first fret, you have to make sure that your fingers are clear of the first string. You might have to roll your wrist forward so your index finger stands straight up on top of the C note, touching only the second string. This position might sting a little at first, but you will get used to it. The more you play, the stronger the tips of your fingers become, so keep playing. And I'd like to point out that I've taught children as young as 4 years old through adults up to 86 years of age. If they can do this, you can too. Our next partial chord is the G chord. If you had trouble with the C, the G chord will be a lot easier. We are going to play the B note on the second string open, along with the G note on the first string by placing our third finger on the third fret. Make sure your third finger is only touching the G note on the first string, then strum both strings together. Put your pick right above the second string and strum down, hitting both strings. Now we're going to take our song on strings 1 and 2 and put our chords at the end of each part. Here's part 1 with our C chord. The first two measures are the same. Playing half notes, we are walking down to the C chord from the notes G to F to E on the first string, followed by D on the second string. While playing the D note, get your index finger in place to play our C chord with whole notes for the last two measures. And here's part 2 with our G chord. The first two measures use half notes to play G, F, E, and back to F, all on the first string. Then we strum our partial G chord for the last two measures. Now let's put it together, starting on part 1, then part 2, and end on part 1, starting out slowly at 50 beats per minute, then again at 100 BPM. Here's a song using our two new chords. This is very simple. Since this is a very slow song, we will strum each chord with a downstroke. First, we play our C for 4 beats. In measure 2, we play the G for 4 beats. Measure 3 goes back to C using half notes. So we strum on counts 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Followed by G with half notes, strumming on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. In measure 5, we go back to C for a whole note, then G for a whole note. For the big ending, we split the measure in half, strumming on C for the 1 count, hold for 2, then G for the 3 count, hold for 4, ending on a C chord for measure 8 for a whole count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's put it all together with a slow tempo of 50 BPM followed by a double time of 100 BPM. If these chords are giving you trouble, please don't get discouraged. You will find that the individual note lessons will build up your finger strength, and by the second time through this section, you will be playing these chords a lot better. Let's move on to the third string notes. Here I'll be playing an Epiphone SG Special. This exercise is designed to teach you a few things all at once. First, it is designed to get you to use and strengthen your pinky or your fourth finger on your playing hand. The first note is a C note played on the 5th fret with your pinky. This is the same C note that we learned earlier on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. They are identical in pitch. They are written the same way on traditional sheet music, but they are played differently. The second measure is a B note played on the 4th fret with your 3rd or ring finger. This B note is the same pitch as the open B on the 2nd string. It is written the same way on sheet music. So now we have two options for playing the B and C note. B and C on the 2nd string, or B and C on the 3rd string. Back to our exercise. After playing C with your pinky, then B with your ring finger, we are going to skip a fret to the A note on the 2nd fret and play this with our index or 1st finger. Notice how all the fingers line up 1 fret apart each. Now keep your hand in the same position, but lift your index finger off the string. This opens up our exercise so we can play the 4th measure, which is an open G note. This G note is slightly different from the one we learned on the 1st string, 3rd fret. It sounds different and it is written different. These two different G notes are an octave apart. If you were to measure the frequency of each note, the G note on the 1st string would vibrate exactly twice as fast as the open G note on the 3rd string. Since the G note on the 1st string vibrates faster, it is higher in pitch. Since the G note on the 3rd string vibrates slower, it produces a lower pitch. Now back to our exercise on the 3rd string. We started playing the new C note on the 5th fret with our pinky, followed by a new B note on the 4th fret with our ring or 3rd finger, then an A note on the 2nd fret with the index finger, and the new G note, an octave lower, played open, no fingers, no frets. These are all whole notes receiving 4 beats each. Next, we are going to walk back up the neck, playing half notes receiving 2 beats each. So keep your hand in place. This way all you have to do is apply pressure to hit the right note. On the 5th measure, we play an open G note for beats 1, hold for 2, pick again on 3, hold for 4. Then A on the 2nd fret. If you were keeping your hand in place, all you have to do is squeeze your 1st finger down and pick on beats 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, play our new B note by applying your 3rd finger and pick on beats 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, for the big ending, we are back to our new C played as a whole note on the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't forget to use alternating picking strokes for each note. Down, up, down, up. Let's put it together for a slow tempo of 60 BPM, then double speed at 120 BPM. This 3-string song introduces the repeat symbol. The double bar line followed by 2 dots signifies the beginning of a repeat section. 2 dots followed by a double bar signifies the end of the repeat section. Whenever you see a repeat section, play the musical piece twice in a row before moving on to the rest of the written music. If you are to play the piece more than twice, instructions will be given with the sheet music. Now let's look at the notes of our song. The entire song uses half notes. This is very similar to our song on strings 1 and 2. The first two measures are identical, playing G, F, E, D. In the third measure, we play C with our first finger, first fret on the second string, followed by our new open G note on the third string, back to C on the second string, then open E note on the first string. Let's consider this part 1 of our song. Part 2 would be measures 5 through 8. Play G, F, and E, then back up in pitch to F, then G, all on the first string. Next, play the open B note on the second string, our new low G note on the third string, and back to B for the ending. Remember, there is a repeat symbol at the beginning and end, so we are going to loop this song and play it twice. For a test run, let's play the last measure, then jump to the first measure. Now let's play it all together at 60 BPM, remembering to jump back to the first measure to play the song through a second time. Then we'll play it at 120 BPM. Now it's time to learn a real C chord, consisting of the notes C, E, and G. They can be in any order, so we'll start on the G string, which is the name of our third string open, followed by the C on the second string, first fret, and finally our open E note on the first string. Just like we learned with the partial C chord, we need to make sure the finger holding the C note stands straight up so it does not touch the first string and now the third string as well. Put your pick above the third string and strum through strings 3, 2, and 1. Next, we'll add to our G chord by playing the new low octave G on the third string open, followed by the B string open, then the G note on the first string, third fret with the third finger. Put your pick above the third string and strum through all 3 strings. This next song is identical to the song on strings 1, 2, and 3, but in measure 4, we are playing a C chord. And in measure 8, we are playing our G chord. All of the individual notes are held as half notes, and the chords are held as whole notes. There is a repeat symbol, so we will loop the song playing it twice. Here it is first at 60 BPM, then again at 120 BPM. This new song incorporates quarter notes, receiving one beat per note, giving our song a much faster feel. The first two measures have us playing a descending scale run. Notes G, F, and E on the first string, notes D, C, and B on the second string, A on the third string, back up to B on the second string. The B note sets us up for our C chord in the third measure. Just hold the C note and strum strings 3, 2, and 1 for a whole note duration. Next, we play an ascending scale run using quarter notes, starting with our low octave G, then A on the third string, notes B, C, and D on the second string. On the first string, notes E, F, then back to E, which sets us up for our G chord for measure 6, which is held for a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we repeat the whole section. Here it is slow at 60 BPM, followed by 120 BPM. One of the easiest ways to learn new chords is to find chords that are similar to the ones you already know. For example, if we play the C chord, open G, C on the first fret of the second string, and open E, we can easily change this to an A minor chord by adding one note. Simply add the A note on the second fret of the third string, and the chord now becomes A minor. If we take our G chord, made up of G open, B open, and G on the third fret of the first string, we can change this to an E minor by playing the open E instead of G on the first string. Just strum strings 3, 2, and 1 open. Here's a quarter note exercise using all 4 chords. First, strum C 4 times. Leave your first finger in place and add the A note, making an A minor chord, and strum 4 times. Lift fingers 1 and 2 and add your third finger to the G note on the first string, making our G chord, and strum 4 times. Finally, lift the fretted G note, making an E minor chord, and strum strings 1, 2, and 3 4 times. For this section, I'll be playing Epiphone's Les Paul standard guitar. We are finally past the halfway mark and on to our 4th string notes. For this exercise, position your hand the same way you did for the 3rd string, so your fingers are 1 fret apart each. Your index finger should be above the 2nd fret, middle finger above the 3rd fret, ring finger above the 4th fret, and pinky above the 5th fret. Again, to help strengthen the pinky, we are going to start with it on the 5th fret and descend to our other notes. The 5th fret note is another way to play our low G from the 3rd string open. They are the same pitch and they are written the same way in sheet music, but we now have 2 options for playing them. After the new G half note, which is held for 2 beats, we skip the 4th fret and descend to the 3rd fret. This is a new lower octave F note. After the new F note, we descend to the 2nd fret, which is a lower octave E note. The new F and E note are quarter notes, played for 1 beat each. So altogether, the first measure of this exercise is G on the 5th fret for counts 1, 2, F on the 3rd fret for the 3 count, and E on the 2nd fret for the 4th count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 2 starts off with a new low octave D note. The D is played open on the 4th string as a half note for counts 1 and 2. Next, we ascend to E for the 3 count, followed by F for the 4 count. Measure 3 is identical to 1, playing G, F, E. And measure 4 has us holding the new low D for a whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is at a slow pace of 70 BPM, followed by double time, 140 BPM. Adding to our 3-string melody, in measure 4, we play our new low octave E note on the 4th string 2nd fret, followed by the open G. For the second half, all is the same, but for the last measure, we play open G, followed by our new open D note. Let's give it a try at 70 BPM, then again at 140 BPM. In the last exercise, we added some notes that you might have guessed can be added to fill out our chords. Holding the 3-string C chord, you can add the E note on the 4th string 2nd fret to thicken up the chord. To enhance the G chord, simply add the open D note on the 4th string. Here's a C to G chord progression that incorporates a half note, quarter note strumming pattern. Start with our new C chord, strum down on the 1 count, hold for 2, strum down again on 3, then strum up for the 4 count. Measure 2 is the same C chord and the same half, quarter rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now change to the G chord in measure 3, strumming the same half, quarter rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure 4 is the same G chord, same rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then repeat the whole song. Let's play this with the tempo. First 70 BPM, then double time at 140 BPM. Using quarter notes, we'll run straight down the scale, starting on the 1st string with G, F, E, 2nd string D, C, B, 3rd string A, then G, ending on our new 4-string C chord, played with whole notes for 4 beats. Next, we run up the scale, starting on the 4th string with a low D, E, F, 3rd string G, A, second string B, C, D, ending on our new G chord for a full 4 beats. Then we repeat. With our new notes on the 4th string, we also have added notes to our other chords. You can now add the E note to the A minor chord. This is going to require a change of fingering from the 3-string version. The 1st string is still open. On the 2nd string, you still hold the C note with your 1st finger, but instead of holding the A note on the 3rd string's 2nd fret with your middle finger, hold it down with your ring finger. Then use your middle finger or 2nd finger to hold the lower E note on the 4th string's 2nd fret. Place your pick above the 4th string and strum. Also, you can enhance the E minor chord by adding the low E note. Let's take our half, quarter, quarter rhythm and apply it to each chord, starting with our new C chord, then add the A note to make A minor. Next, change to E minor by keeping your 2nd finger on the lower E note, 4th string's 2nd fret, but lift the other fingers. And finally, switch to G by lifting your 2nd finger and placing your 3rd finger on the high G note, 1st string, 3rd fret. Then repeat the whole song. Here it is with the tempo. This introduction to the 5th string uses the same frets and fingerings that we applied to string 4. Starting with your pinky on the 5th fret, we have another way to play our D note. This is the same pitch as the D on the 4th string open. Next is a new lower octave C on the 3rd fret, then a lower octave B on the 2nd fret, and finally the lower octave A note played open on the 5th string. Ascend back up to D, then descend back down to A. The rhythm is half, quarter, quarter for the first 3 measures, ending on a whole note for the open A string. Then repeat the section. Let's count in at 80 BPM. Instead of counting us in with all 4 beats, I'll use a short count in starting on beats 3, then 4, then we'll start playing on the 1 count. Now let's speed it up to 160 BPM. Here, the first 3.5 measures are the same as the song on strings 1 through 4. The difference is the addition of the C note for the second half of the 4th measure. Next, we play the new lower octave B on the 2nd fret, followed by the open A, then back to B, all on the 5th string. Then we pick D open, followed by the open G, open B, then end on the high G on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. This is the only whole note in the song. The rest use all half notes. After the whole note G, we repeat. Here it is slowly at 80 BPM with a short count in, then again at double time, 160 BPM. By adding the 5th string notes, we can finally complete our C chord by adding the low octave C on the 3rd fret using your 3rd finger. We can also enhance our G chord by adding the 5th string's 2nd fret B note with your 1st finger. You also have the option of using your pinky for the 1st string 3rd fret G note. Up until now, we have been using our 3rd finger or our ring finger. It may be more comfortable for you to use your pinky instead. Plus, it will free up your 3rd finger for chords that we will be learning later on. Now let's get used to playing these chords with our half, quarter, quarter rhythm. To change from C to G, move your 1st finger from the 2nd string 1st fret to the 5th string 2nd fret. At the same time, lift your 2nd and 3rd fingers away from the strings and move to the 1st string 3rd fret G note with your 3rd or 4th finger, whichever you decide to use for your new G chord. Starting at 80 BPM, then again at 160. For this song, we run down our scale using quarter notes. On the first string, play G, F, E, second string D, C, B, third string A, G, fourth string F, E, D, fifth string C, B, A, then back to B for a half note. This sets us up for the C chord in measure 5, which is held as a whole note for 4 beats. And now in part 2, we ascend up the scale using quarter notes, starting on the 5th string with notes A, B, C, 4th string D, E, F, 3rd string G, A, 2nd string B, C, D, and 1st string E, F, G, then back to the F note for a half note duration. The F sets us up for the G chord in measure 5, which is held as a whole note. Then we repeat parts 1 and 2. Here it is at a slow run of 80 BPM, then double time at 160 BPM. The 5th string A minor chord is very simple. Just add the open A note to the 4th string version. The 5th string E minor is played by adding the new low octave B with your index or first finger to the 2nd fret. Now, applied to our half, quarter, quarter rhythm, starting with the C chord, we change to A minor by lifting your 3rd finger from the 5th string 3rd fret and placing it on the higher A, which is the 3rd string 2nd fret. To change from A minor to E minor, keep your 2nd finger planted on the E note, 4th string 2nd fret, and move your index finger from the 2nd string 1st fret and place it on the lower octave B note, 5th string 2nd fret. Your ring and pinky fingers are not used. To change from E minor to G, keep your index finger planted on the 5th string 2nd fret, lift your middle finger, you don't need it for this chord, and hold the 1st string 3rd fret G note with your ring or pinky finger. Then go back to C and repeat the whole song. The change from G to C is done by moving your index finger from the 5th string 2nd fret to the 2nd string 1st fret. Your 2nd finger goes to the 4th string 2nd fret, 3rd finger to the 5th string 3rd fret. Here's our rhythm, using all 4 chords at 80 BPM, then again at 160 BPM. We have made it to the last string. This exercise uses the same notes and fingerings as the notes we've learned on the first string. Open, this string produces a low E note. This is the third E we have learned so far, and this string is referred to as the low E string. The first fret is a new low F note, played with your first finger. The third fret is a new low G note, played with your third finger. In this exercise, the E and F are played as half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then switching to quarter notes, play G, F, E, F. This sets us up for a long G note, which introduces a new symbol. This symbol is called a tie because it ties the duration of notes together. Instead of holding this note for a whole note, or 4 beats, we are going to hold it for 2 whole notes, a total of 8 beats. When you play this note, let it ring out in rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then repeat, starting with E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is at 90 BPM, then again at 180 BPM. Part 1 of our 6-string song is identical to our song on strings 1 through 5. The only difference is the ending, which adds our C chord, which is held for 2 measures thanks to the tie symbol. Part 2 has us playing a familiar melody of half notes. On the first string, start with G, then F, E, F, G. Next is the open B, open G, then open D, followed by our new G chord, which is played by simply adding our new low G note to the 6th string, 3rd fret with our 2nd finger. This G chord has a tie and is held for 2 full measures. Then we repeat the whole song. Let's play it at 90 BPM, then again at 180. The first half of scales with chords is the same as the fifth string exercise. But we're going to add a tie to the C chord, so now we'll be holding it for 2 measures. In part 2, we play our scale ascending from low E to high E. The whole scale is played with quarter notes up until the high E string, which is played as a half note. Setting us up for the full G chord, which is held for 2 measures. Then we repeat the whole song. Here it is at 90 BPM and again at 180 BPM. We've learned the full versions of all our chords except for the E minor, which is completed by simply adding the low E note to the 5th string version. Let's wrap our 6th string lesson up by playing our half, quarter rhythm with full chords at 90 BPM and double time at 180 BPM. Congratulations, you have now learned to play on all 6 strings. How did you do? Were you able to play each exercise at both the slow and fast speed? If not, there are 2 things you can do. First, if you go back and repeat each lesson, you will probably find that you are now fast enough to play both speeds. If you remember, our slow speed for the 1st string lesson was set at 40 BPM and double time was set at 80 BPM. The last lesson, where we added the 6th string notes, had a slow tempo of 90 BPM, 10 beats faster than the 1st string lesson. Also, the fast tempo for the 6th string notes was at 180 BPM, 100 beats faster than the 1st string lesson. Each lesson gradually sped up, so go back and see if you can repeat each lesson at the fast tempo. It will be a great refresher for what we've learned so far. Plus, it will be rewarding to see how much better you are now than when you first started these lessons. The second way you could play each lesson faster is to practice it with a metronome. Let's say you're having trouble playing at 180 BPM. You can choose a slower tempo and try it at 100 BPM. When you could play that speed, try 110 or 120. As you improve, keep increasing the speed. You can also visit the bonus section of this DVD and make use of our on-screen metronomes. As we added strings, we built up to the full C and G chord, while adding A minor and E minor. Here are some new chords which are similar to what we have already learned. Holding a C chord, you can easily change to a G7 chord by moving your index finger from the second string first fret to the first string first fret, and moving your middle and ring fingers up to strings 5 and 6. Here's the change, C to G7. Play the G chord we have already learned. By using your pinky on the first string 3rd fret, you can play an alternate G chord by adding your ring finger to the second string 3rd fret. By playing the new alternative G chord, you can switch to a C9 by moving your middle and index fingers down one string. Again, here's G to C9. Play the A minor chord that we've already learned, then move everything down one string. The only difference is to slide your ring finger up to the second string 3rd fret and you have a D minor chord. Pick the 4th string open and the notes you have already fretted. Here's the change, A minor to D minor. From D minor, slide your index finger up from the first string 1st fret to the 2nd fret. The rest of the fingerings are the same. I often see the D chord taught with different fingerings than what I suggest. Here's the way a lot of people play the D chord. I play it this way because it is a lot easier to change to other popular chords. For example, D to C, and back to D, D to G, and back to D, D to A minor, and back to D. All of these changes require very little finger movement. Finally, let's take the A minor chord and move all of our fingers up one string to form an E major chord. Here are some ideas for different ways to play chords. For this section, we will use the E chord. For each exercise, simply hold the chord with the correct fingers. You'll be able to alter the sound of the chord by applying the different techniques listed. Here are some ideas for different ways to play chords. For this section, we will use the E chord. For each exercise, simply hold the chord with the correct fingers. You'll be able to alter the sound of the chord by applying the different techniques listed. The most common and basic way to play a chord is to strum it. Simply strum or play all the strings that are part of the chord at the same time. The slash marks after the initial chord represent repeating strokes. The best way to do this is to strum down, then up repeatedly. Another technique for strumming chords is to use a bass note between strumming the other notes of the chord. In the example below, first play only the bass note, then strum the remaining partial chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This example is slightly varied from the bass notes exercise. First, the bass note alternates between the 6th and 5th string. Also, notice when you strum the partial chord, you are not including all of the other chord notes. You're only strumming strings 3, 2, and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last two exercises used partial chords. The exercise below is yet another of the many partial chord strumming patterns you'll find in popular music. First, we strum strings 6, 5, 4, and 3 together. Then 3, 2, and 1. The rhythm: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The sounding of the notes of a chord in succession, rather than at the same time, is called an arpeggio. Simply put, this is picking out the individual notes of a chord rather than strumming them. You can play the notes with a pick, or with the fingers of your picking hand. The exercise below sounds notes on the 6th and 1st string at the same time. You can use a pick for the 6th string note and a finger for the 1st string, or you can use your fingers for the entire technique. A chord progression is a repetitive pattern of chord changes. It can be made up of any combination of chords. We've already learned the C to G chord progression. G to C can also be a chord progression. As early as our first 3-string exercises, we learned A minor and E minor. We mixed these with C and G and made a 4-chord progression: C, A minor, G, E minor. To learn more about guitar chords, common progressions, and playing in the different musical keys, we highly recommend Easy Guitar Chords DVD by MJS Music and Entertainment. This very affordable DVD will give you a world of insight for playing chords on the guitar. Now let's look at some of our other chords and learn some popular ways they are used in songs. We are going to learn 5 different songs at 3 different levels. Here, we'll be able to introduce new techniques and ideas for playing and writing songs. For this section, I'll be playing an Epiphone Texan acoustic guitar, or rather a reissue inspired by the 1964 Texan model. Although I'm playing an acoustic, you can still play the section on an electric guitar as well. The first song we are going to learn is a descending bass line song. This song follows the notes starting with D on the 4th string open, to the 5th string 3rd fret C, 2nd fret B, and 5th string open A. In place of these individual notes, we will play chords that follow the descending pattern. So in place of the D note, we will start with a D chord. In place of the C note, we will play the C add 9 chord that we learned in the previous section. In place of the B note, we will play a partial G chord. This is also called a G/B chord since the lowest note is B on the 5th string 2nd fret. Notice the 6th string is not used. Finally, the last chord is a D/A, which means we will play the D chord and add the 5th string open A note to it. We'll hold each chord for 4 beats, playing at a tempo of 70 BPM. The country song uses chords we have already learned, starting with G to C, switch back to the G, then to D. For level 1, we'll play alternating bass lines, giving the song a traditional country feel. Holding the G chord, play the 6th string 3rd fret G note for the 1 count. Then strum the remaining chord notes on strings 5 through 1 for count 2. Alternate to the 5th string 2nd fret B note for count 3, then strum the remaining chord for count 4. In the second measure, we see a repeat symbol. This simply instructs us to repeat the previous measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch to the C chord, picking the 5th string bass note, then strum strings 4 through 1. Alternate to the 4th string bass note, then strum and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch back to the G for 2 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then change to the D chord, picking the open 4th string bass note. Strum the chord notes, strings 3, 2, and 1. Then alternate to the open 5th string bass note. Then strum, and repeat the D chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then repeat the whole song. Here's the country song level 1 with a tempo of 70 BPM. For the rock song, I'll be using an Epiphone Futura Custom Effects featuring active EMG pickups. These pickups, combined with a hard rock amp setting, give us a great rock tone. The rock song introduces power chords. A basic power chord uses only 2 notes. To play an open E5 power chord, start with the 6th string open, along with the 5th string 2nd fret, and strum both strings. Power chords are movable chord shapes. From E5, you can move everything up 1 fret to play an F5. Place your index finger on the 6th string 1st fret, along with your ring finger on the 5th string 3rd fret, and strum both strings. Move the shape up 1 more fret, and you have an F-sharp 5 power chord. Up 1 more fret, and you have the G5 power chord, 6th string 3rd fret, along with the 5th string 5th fret. You can also move these power chord shapes to different strings. The open A5 is just like an open E5, just played on the 5th and 4th string. Move up 1 fret, and you have B flat 5. Move the open shape to the 4th and 3rd strings, and you have a D5 power chord. Up 1 fret, and you have an E flat 5. The rock song starts out very simple, using only 3 power chords. Start with the open E5 for the first 2 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is G5 with the index finger on the 6th string 3rd fret and ring finger on the 5th string 5th fret for 1 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we move it up 2 frets for an A5, 6th string 5th fret and 5th string 7th fret for 1 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then repeat the whole song. Here's the rock song at 90 BPM. To enhance the rock song, we will add pedal tones after each power chord. Play each chord for a half note, counts 1 and 2, then play open 6-string pedal tones. The rhythm introduces 8th notes. 8th notes require us to divide each beat into 2 pulses. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we count 8th notes as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For the rock song, the pedal tones come in the middle of the measure for counts 3 and 4 and. Repeat the E5 rhythm, playing the chord for counts 1, 2, then pedal tones on 3 and 4 and. Move up to the 3rd fret for the G5, 1, 2, then open pedal tones, 3 and 4 and. Up to the 5th fret for the A5, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and, then repeat the song. Here's a practice run with a tempo of 90 BPM. The shuffle song expands upon our power chords. Starting with an A5, the 5th string is open, and add the 4th string 2nd fret with the index finger. Strum both strings, and while holding the 4th string 2nd fret with the index finger, play the 4th string 4th fret with the ring finger. Strum, and you have an A6 power chord. The 3rd chord chart shows both the A5 and A6, showing that the chord will alternate between fretted notes. By going back and forth between the A5 and A6 power chord, we can play a traditional shuffle rhythm. To start, we are going to add a single pedal tone between each chord. Play A5, open A pedal tone, A6, pedal tone, back to A5, pedal, A6, pedal. Repeat this rhythm, then switch to the D5, D6 rhythm. Same fingers, but move down to the 4th string open with the 3rd string 2nd fret for D5, open 4th string pedal, then 3rd string 4th fret for the D6. Play for 2 measures, then return to the A5 rhythm. The count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. After repeating the A rhythm, move everything up 1 string to the E rhythm. Same fingerings, but the bass note is the open E string. Here's the shuffle song at a slow tempo of 80 BPM. The blues song will use the open E5 power chord, 6th string open with the 5th string 2nd fret. Move it all down 1 string for the open A5 power chord, 5th string open, 4th string 2nd fret. Move it up 2 frets and you have the B5 power chord, 5th string 2nd fret and 4th string 4th fret. For the blues rhythm, we see a bracket with a number 3 in the center. This bracket overshadows a quarter note and an 8th note and combines them into 1 full beat. The number 3 tells us that this beat is counted as a triplet. So instead of counting quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, or instead of counting 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, we now divide each beat into 3 pulses. 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. To play the blues rhythm, start with the 5th string open for counts 1 and, then the 6th string 3rd fret for the a count. 1 and a. Again, 1 and a. To complete the rhythm, play an E5 power chord and let it ring out for the rest of the measure. Altogether, we have 1 and a, 2, 3, 4. To start the blues song, the E rhythm is repeated 4 times. 1 and a, 2, 3, 4, and again, 1 and a, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a, 2, 3, 4, and a 4th time. 1 and a, 2, 3, 4. Next, we change to an A triplet rhythm. Just move everything down 1 string. 1 and a, 2, 3, 4. Repeat the A rhythm. The 4th string is open to the 5th string 3rd fret to the A5 power chord. Then back up 1 string to the E rhythm for 2 measures. 1 and a, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a, 2, 3, 4. To end the blues song, we play a turnaround which gives the rhythm a different feel. Start with a B rhythm, 4th string 2nd fret, then open with a triplet rhythm. 1 and a, then a B5 power chord. 2, 3, 4. Switch to the A rhythm. 1 and a, 2, 3, 4, then end on the E rhythm for 2 measures. 1 and a 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2, 3, 4. Let's play the blues song at 60 BPM. For level 2 of our descending bass line song, we will apply a half quarter-quarter rhythm. Strum D on 1, hold for 2, strum 3, 4. Switch to C add 9 for 1, 2, 3, 4. G/B, 1, 2, 3, 4. To D/A, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's loop it at 80 BPM. Now, let's take the same rhythm, but instead of strumming the full chord, we will arpeggiate some of the notes. Starting with D, strum on 1, hold for 2, pick the first string chord note for the 3 count, pick the second string chord note for the 4 count. Switch to C add 9 and apply the same rhythm pattern. Strum for 1, hold for 2, pick the first string on 3, pick the second string on 4. Switch to G/B, 1, 2, 3, 4, D/A, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is at 80 BPM. Level 2 of the country song has a strumming eighth notes. Starting with the G chord, pick the 6th string 3rd fret bass note for beat 1, then strum the remaining chord with eighth notes for counts 2 and. Pick the 5th string 2nd fret bass note for the 3 count, then strum 8th notes for counts 4 and. Then repeat the G rhythm. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Switch to C, applying the same bass notes as level 1, but for level 2, we will strum 8th notes. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Back to the G rhythm for 2 measures. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and end on D. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Then repeat the song. Here it is at 75 BPM. For this next section, we are going to add the palm mute technique to the pedal tones. The palm mute is achieved by resting the edge of your picking hand against the string you are picking. This gives the note a percussive or drum-like quality. You can adjust the amount of mute by moving your hand position. For a heavy rock sound, place your palm as close to the bridge as possible. Here it is with a tempo of 90 BPM. To pick up the pace, we are going to shorten the duration of the chord and add more palm muted pedal tones. Play each chord as a quarter note for the 1 count. Then come in with pedal tones on 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and, remembering to palm mute each pedal tone. Switch to the G5, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and, then A5. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Here it is with the tempo. Another popular technique for rock guitar is the harmonic. Harmonics are achieved by lightly touching the string directly above a desired fret. For the rock song, we are adding 5th fret harmonics. Just lightly touch the 5th string just above the 5th fret and pick that string. After you play the harmonic, you can pull your hand away from the string. If you push down on the string, or if you touch the string in another location, the harmonic will be silenced. The most common harmonics can be found on the 5th fret, 7th fret, and up to the 12th fret. You can also experiment and find more harmonics by moving your hand to different locations on the string. For the rock song, play up to the A5 power chord, play a single open 6-string pedal tone, then 5th fret harmonics on strings 5, 4, 3, 4. The rhythm is 1, 2, and 3, and 4, allowing the harmonics to ring out before repeating the whole song. All right, let's do it with a tempo of 90 BPM. For level 2 of the shuffle song, we are adding another chord type. We have the A5, 5th string open with the 4th string 2nd fret, the A6 by adding the ring finger to the 4th string 4th fret. Now add the pinky to the 4th string 5th fret, and you have an A7 variation. Then back to the A6. This is played with 8th notes by adding an open 5th string pedal tone after each chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're also adding the palm mute to this rhythm. Just lay the edge of your picking hand lightly on top of the strings you are playing. Move everything down one string and you have the D rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Repeat the D rhythm, then move back up to the A rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Repeat a measure, then move everything up to the E rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Repeat the E rhythm, then repeat the whole song starting with A. Here's the shuffle song at 90 BPM. For level 2 of the blues song, the triplet rhythm remains the same, but instead of letting each power chord ring out, we will strum the chord on counts 2, 3, and 4. For example, the E rhythm would be 1 and a 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2, 3, 4. Although it isn't written in the sheet music, you can also accent each chord by muting the strings after you strum. 1 and a 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2, 3, 4. Here it is at 60 BPM. For level 3 of the descending bass line song, we will arpeggiate each chord using quarter notes. Start on the lowest note of each chord and pick out the rest of the chord. For D, pick strings 4, 3, 2, and 1. For the remaining chords, pick strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And keep a steady quarter note rhythm, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is at 90 BPM. This final rhythm has us combining eighth notes and quarter notes. An eighth note divides a beat into 2 pulses. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we now count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Start out holding the D chord and picking strings 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, then 3. Apply the rhythm 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Switch to C add 9. Start picking on the 5th string and apply the same rhythm. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Next is G/B. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. For the ending, play D/A, picking strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. The last note is a half note, so the rhythm is 1, 2 and 3, 4. Here it is looped at 90 BPM. Start by holding a G chord for level 3 of the country song. Pick the 6th string 3rd fret G note for the 1 count. Then strum strings 4 through 1 with 8th notes for counts 2 and. On the 3 count, lift your index finger, exposing the open 5th string. Pick the string, then hammer your index finger back down to the 2nd fret. This is called a hammer-on technique. If you hammer your finger hard enough, you will produce the 2nd fret note without having to pick the string. Hammer-ons can be applied to open strings, or you can fret a note and hammer to higher notes on the same string. So for our country song, we play the bass note, strum 8th notes, 5th string open, hammer to 2, and then strum the chord one more time for the 4 count. Altogether, the count is 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Switch to the C chord, playing the 5th string 3rd fret bass note, then strum strings 3, 2, and 1 for 8th notes. Lift your middle finger and play the 4th string open, then hammer your middle finger back to the 4th string's 2nd fret. Then end with a strum. The count is 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Back to the G rhythm. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Then switch to the D, open 4th string bass note. Strum on counts 2 and, open 5th string bass note, then strum on counts 4 and. The second measure of the D rhythm introduces a turnaround that walks us back up to the G chord. Start on the 4th string D note, then switch to the 6th string open E, first finger, first fret F note, second finger, second fret F sharp. All 4 notes are played with quarter note rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, we repeat the song, starting with the G chord. So the turnaround gives us a smooth transition from D to the G rhythm. Here's level 3 with the tempo. To enhance the E5 power chord, we are now adding the 4th string 2nd fret. This is an octave E, which gives the power chord a fuller tone. You can also bar the 5th and 4th string across the 2nd fret with your first finger. If you move the chord shape down 1 string, you have an A5 power chord. 5th string open, 4th string 2nd fret, and 3rd string 2nd fret. When you move to the open 4th string D5, the shape is held a little different. The octave D is held 1 fret higher on the 2nd string. So play the 4th string open, 3rd string 2nd fret, and the middle finger on the 2nd string 3rd fret. If you move this shape up the fretboard, like the E flat 5 for example, use your index finger on the 4th string 1st fret, play the 3rd string 3rd fret with the ring finger, and 2nd string 4th fret with the pinky. For level 3 of the rock song, we start with an extended E5 power chord on the 1 count. Then we are playing a traditional rock guitar riff, starting with the 6th string open to the 6th string 3rd fret with the middle finger, switch to the 5th string open, 2nd fret with the index finger, open again, then back to the 6th string 3rd fret. The count is 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. For the second measure, play the E5, then 6th string open, 3, to the 5th string open, 2, open. The count is 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Move up to the G5, playing an extended power chord by adding the pinky to the 4th string 5th fret. The rock riff is 6th string open, 3rd, to 5th string open, 3, open. Move up to the extended A5 power chord, 6th string 5th fret, 5th string 7th fret, and 4th string 7th fret. The rock riff is 6th string open, 5, to 5th string open, 5, open. Altogether, we'll play it at 90 BPM. To accent the rock song, we are adding a rest to the second count. A rest is simply a period of silence. Here we are playing each power chord with eighth notes for counts 1 and. Then mute the strings to produce a rest for the 2 count. You can do this by laying your playing hand across the strings, or you could lay the edge of your picking hand across the strings to prevent any notes from ringing out. The rock riff is also a little different for this section. In the first measure, play the 5th string open, 2nd fret, open, to the 6th string 3rd fret. In the second measure, play only the 5th string notes, open, 2, open. Move up to G5, open 3, open, to A5, rest, open 5, open. All right, let's play it with our tempo. The next rhythm has us playing a lot more between each chord. If you look at the first note chart, we see that the A shuffle rhythm involves the 5th string open, 3rd fret, 4th fret, to the 4th string 2nd fret, 4th, and 5th. In the sheet music, we see that we are starting with an A5 power chord. Next, play pedal tones on the 5th string open, 3rd fret with the middle finger, then 4th fret with the ring finger. Play the A5 again, then pedal tones on the 5th string open, to 4th string 4th fret with the ring finger, then 5th fret with the pinky. Repeat the A shuffle rhythm, then move the entire structure down 1 string to play the D shuffle rhythm. D5, 4th string open, 3rd fret, 4th fret, D5, 4th string open, to the 3rd string, 4, then 5, and repeat. Then back to the A shuffle rhythm. Move everything up 1 string for the E shuffle rhythm. E5, open, 3, 4, E5, open, 5th string 4th fret, then 5th. Repeat the E shuffle rhythm. Then repeat the full song starting with A. Here it is with a tempo of 90 BPM. To complete the shuffle song, we are going to add hammer-ons to the fretted notes. For example, the A shuffle rhythm starts with an A5, 5th string open, 3 hammer to 4, A5, 5th string open, 4th string 4, hammer to 5. Repeat the rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then move the entire structure down 1 string for the D shuffle rhythm. The frets and fingers stay the same. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Back to the A rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then up one string to the E shuffle rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then repeat the whole song. Here's the completed shuffle song at 90 BPM. Level 3 of the blues song uses a straight triplet rhythm. Start out with the same walk down from the 5th string open to the 6th string 3rd fret for counts 1 and a. Then play the E5 power chord, but instead of strumming for quarter notes, we are now going to use the triplet rhythm by holding the chord for 2 and add an open E pedal tone for a. Repeat 3 and a, repeat 4 and a. Then repeat the whole measure. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Apply this triplet rhythm to the whole blues song. Here's the final version of our blues song at 60 BPM. I've had a lot of fun working with you today, and we've covered a lot of ground. Individual notes, harmony, chords. If you've made it this far, you're on your way to becoming a great guitarist.